I don't see the red bubble on this. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I was being really weird in the beginning. And that's okay. That's what being real, raw, transparent is. Okay. So let me get right into the show versus sell with my notes. So today, one of the biggest things that we wanted to talk about as a group is for the first thing, because our next topic we'll do next week. But the number one topic that you guys all kind of wanted to hear more of and more about is really what I spoke to in my Telegram challenge that I did. I want to say it was the end of October, so like a week or two ago. And it really talks about showing your client versus telling your client. So showing my client the why they need something or the why they need the solution. So we're going to show the why versus telling them what they need. Because telling them what they need does not allow them to self-identify with me. Now, we'll get more into this. So this also underlyingly talks about how versus why like mindset. So that's the first thing we're going to get into is where I am in my own journey, okay? Like you guys as a whole, and talk about your way you're speaking to yourself and the way that you're showing up in high vicinity areas or conversations or the way that we speak before I can get into how you're showing and telling the clients through your messaging on your content. Okay. So the very first thing I want to talk about is the difference between how and why mindset. So, someone that comes in with a why mindset, this is very much like, what am I doing wrong? Why is my content not activating? Why is my content not converting? What do I have to do to get people to buy? Now, I get this a lot in individual mentorships and in a lot of like the coaching containers that I've done prior and a lot of the questions that I would get all the time in the beginning of when I started my business. So, very much this is what people say when they say that you're the victim, is when you show up and you say, why is this not working for me? Why is my content not converting? Why am I not getting sales? Why has it been this long since I've seen this? Why am I getting low views? Why are only 5 people engaging, blah, 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 with my content? Versus my how mindset people, these guys take the why that's going on in their head and they transvert it into, well, how can I? Okay. So instead of saying, like, why is my material content, why is this not happening for me? We turn from, sorry, my dog, it is literally, you know how when they drink water so grossly that it like freaks you out, gives you the ick? Porter. Okay. So instead of becoming the victims, we want to become the victors in our own conversations, in our own space. And anytime we show up to another conversation with another coach, to a potential buyer, okay? We want to show up with this how mindset. How do I elevate my beliefs to get me to where I'm going? How do I make content that's converting more easily? How do I show up with this new version of myself? What's my process? How am I going to do that? That turns me, okay, now another dog's drinking. That turns me from a victim into a victor. Okay. So here's where those conversations that I see all over social media is the difference between transparency and honesty. Okay. Suki. Yeah. That's just like how my morning's going. Okay, the people that are struggling with constantly asking themselves why? These guys are a little bit falling toward the complaining realm. So oftentimes I find that they're involved in conversations or groups or they have products or communities of people or people that they talk to regularly. They're in conversations with low vicinity people. Okay. They're in conversations with people that are posting on their stories or posting content that constantly is being transparent, but it's not showing any movement. It's not showing any direction or intention. So the transparency is, well, I'm just going to be transparent about it, guys. I have no idea why I have 5 likes or why I've gotten no sales, but I'm just going to be transparent with you. And this is so hard. Like, so hard for me to show up, so hard for me to talk in my stories. And I'm just going to be transparent here. I'm just having a really hard time with it. Now, you're still being raw. You're still being human. And and that is okay, but that transparency is not showing any movement or solution oriented focus. Okay. So that's not going to have other people relate back to me and self identify with what I'm saying. Okay. So instead, I want to be honest, but I want to show my direction because that's also going to show people that I know what I'm talking about and I'm the leader that I so badly want to be. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so the transparency of it's been so hard for me lately. I'm showing up, I'm doing the things, but like honestly, it's just been really hard. My mindset. That is my victim speaking in the if. You don't necessarily know. You're not necessarily being confident in the fact that you know it's coming for you. So you're not comfortable, I'm sorry, with the results that you're not getting. Now, let me explain. Being confident is not about like knowing at all times what you're doing. Being confident is not like how you speak necessarily. It's a factor, but being confident is not having the answers to literally everything. Being confident is being comfortable in an area that you might not know everything about, or being confident is being, or yeah, is being confident is being comfortable in a hard time. Have you ever looked at someone who's really good at something and been like, wow, they're the most confident person there is? No, they have no reason to be confident because, I mean, they probably are. They might be, but outside looking in, they have no reason to be confident because they're already good at what they're doing. Okay? Being confident is being comfortable in an area that you might not know everything about or in the waiting. Being confident is being comfortable in the waiting. Okay? The when it's coming to you. Okay? So being confident means I'm going to honestly share my opinion, but with direction instead of transparently just tell you it's been really hard. So I'm going to go to my stories and been like, look, 6 months ago, or even like a few months ago, a week ago, I could not stop telling myself this. And I could not stop thinking that this, that, or whatever, that this might not come for me. I could not stop thinking that maybe I was doing something wrong. But honestly, here's what I did to like change my mindset, or here's what I did to get my results flowing, or here's what I did to speak to my belief systems, or here's what I did. You got to add that into it because that shows that you're moving with intention and you're not just stagnantly waiting or manifesting for something to come to you. That's why I don't necessarily like manifesting. Actually, I shouldn't really say necessarily like because I don't like it in general. Because a lot of manifestors that I meet, not everybody, for the universe, they're waiting for the universe to give them something that I'm not necessarily sure you are even actively working toward. So transparently, I'm just going to say I'm manifesting this and I'm waiting for it to come to me. But honestly, I'm going to share my direction that I'm something that I'm actively moving toward or actively trying to receive for myself. And honestly, I'm just going to share it might not be might not be happening for me right now, but I know that it will because I'm confident in the direction that I'm moving in. So this goes back to why, my complainers, my victims, okay, my transparency, to my how, solution oriented, confident in the uncomfortable, and being comfortable, in the area might not be working for them right now, in the how, okay, the direction, the movement, two different types of people. What do I say when I want someone to buy from me versus how do I elevate my own beliefs and my own versions of myself to get to where I want to be, to get to relating to those people. Okay. So that's the first thing you have to ask yourself when you wake up in the morning, when you go onto Instagram, when you go to make content, when you go to share something. Okay. That's the first thing you should be asking yourself is the how versus why. Okay. And am I being transparent or am I being honest? Am I really moving with intention in my business or am I just stagnantly waiting? Okay. So that thing needs to happen first before you get to actively showing people what they need, showing people the solution, showing them why they need it versus telling them what they need. Now, here's my example of telling them what they need. Oh my word, you guys just need to shift your messaging and become her. And that's like telling people they need my product. You guys need my product if you want this. You just do. You guys need this, with the circle. You guys need the circle if you want to like elevate to the next, shift in your business. If you want to scale your business, you need the circle. On the outside looking in, I'd be like, this is an investment. Like, why the fuck do I need it? I don't get it. But yet, so many of us are forcing our stories or trying so hard to get our stories up in a certain amount of time or forcing the need for a story that we're just like, oh my word, I'm just gonna like put up what I know I need to put up about my product because I need to sell. So I'm just gonna put it up. And oftentimes when you're rushing that movement of selling and needing to hard sell, you're telling people what they need, and Lord knows they don't want to hear that. Telling them what they need does not allow for self-identity back or self for them. It does not allow for them to self-identify back to the problem and back to seeing you as a solution. And it does not allow for them to reprogram their subconscious to see you as, or your product as a thing that is going to get them what they want. Okay. So show versus tell. Telling them what they need. I'm going to give examples. Would be, for instance, it would be like saying in your stories or saying in your reel, maybe a hook that sounds like this. You are being the same person you've always been, and that's why you're not getting the income that you want. Or you're being the same person you've always been, and that's why your income's not exploding and why you're not seeing sales. Okay? On the outside looking in, I'd be like, what is the person I've always been? I don't know. Okay? And this might be you thinking, well, if I just speak generally, if I just speak largely open, I'm going to be able to relate to everyone. So I'm not going to get specific here because if I just say a hook that's going to relate to everybody, then everybody's going to ask me like, oh my gosh, I can literally see you guys on the other end of the screen saying, I'm just going to say this large generic hook. And I can like see everyone on the other end of the screen being like, I have always been the same person I've always been. And that's why I need your product. I'm telling you, that's not going to work. It's not going to allow someone like me to be like, oh my word, yeah. No, on the outside for me, I'm like, who's the same person I've always been? Because sales is fake. Sales is just this glorified entrepreneur lifestyle is being glorified on social media. When really sales is most of the time speaking to people when they don't necessarily know they have a problem or they don't necessarily see the way or the life that they're in right now. They might not necessarily see a need for change. So when you are showing them how, you need to actively show them or detail out the problem or the area in life they might be doing over and over and over again because that's what you've done before. And that's what's going to allow them to self-identify back to the problem that you have also faced so that you can get them to do the solution or actively move through the solution that you have and you being the solution because you know what you're talking about. Okay? So if we take that hook, you are being the same person you've always been, and that's why your income's not exploding. Let's change that, add more identity into it, add more perception into it, add more details into it, and say, look, this is my hook. This is my showing hook. Girl, you're still waking up 30 minutes past your alarm. You're skipping breakfast. You're skipping workouts. You're skipping your meditations, even though you told yourself you're going to remain consistent with these as your New Year's resolution. And I'm telling you right now, that's why your income's not exploding. And then you're going to have the girl who's like literally starving herself, only drinking coffee in the morning and not working out again for like the next, the 30 days going and be like, oh my word, I feel called out. I did skip my breakfast and I did wake up this morning and be like, you should work out. And I was like, no, I'm not going to, even though I told myself that I was going to start this 30-day thing. Because then in your caption, you're going to go into how do you expect to be consistent in a business? How do you expect to be consistent online? How do you expect to be consistent with whatever you're trying to sell them? Like fitness or like eating healthy or consistent as a therapist? Like, how do you expect to be consistently building your business if I can't trust you to be consistent with how you treat yourself, with how you are eating, with the simple promises that you're breaking to yourself? How do I expect you to be the best coach there is? Like, that's the stuff that you're going to dive deeper into and expand off of in your caption. Okay. But that is that detailed showing, explaining the why they need something, the why they're doing the same thing over and over again and not getting the result. You need more details. This is why when I tell you guys and I see your reel hooks or I see your stories and your stories are just like, look, if you are not getting sales 6 months from now, I was there. You just need this. I'm telling you. This is what got me over the hump. You need to tell them why. You need to paint that picture of a transformation. Look, if I don't want to like use just therapy because it's like, so I'm just going to use like wealth coach information. But look, if you are still not seeing sales, right? That would be the main problem. They're not seeing sales. Look, if you're still buying product after product thinking it's going to get you this, or if you're still whining and complaining about your real views, and yet you're still not changing your hooks or still not looking at the refinement of your messaging, or if you're still trying to speak to everyone because you think that specificity or branching down in your dream client is going to put you in this little box, those are all detailed things you need to spill more about in your stories. Okay. And then in your reels, you don't necessarily have to have this giant block of information, but you do need to have 1 or 2 sentences in there that explain who you are so that other people can self-identify back to you. And I was sharing this with someone yesterday who reached out to me and they were like, oh my word, Hayden, you're like speaking to me. I just, thank you for sharing this. I can't even imagine that me sharing this, but this is how I'm feeling in healthcare right now. This is how I'm feeling with the women that I'm working with. This is how I'm feeling when my boss tells me this. And I just wish I could share all of this. And I'm like, why are you not? Because when I go to your stories, girl, we don't know that I know. When I go to your stories, when I go to your reels, it's just you constantly talking about or telling women that they need pelvic floor therapists because they just do. It's going to help with working out. It's going to help with this. And I'm just like, ew. So I literally told her yesterday, said, everything that you just shared with me, you need to share on screen. Okay. Everything you just detailed out to me, your opinions, your dislike about the job or the way healthcare views pelvic floor or the way healthcare treats women, everything in there that you are willing to share with me, you need to share online. Okay. So if I was going to be a healthcare therapist and I wanted to be a coach that allows people to work with me for that, I would say, yo, you're still peeing yourself every time you go to work out, or you are still sitting there with your back arch, low back pain when you're doing dishes and doing laundry, when you're holding your baby, and yet you're weakening your pelvic floor. You're still doing all those things. You're still not working on your lower abdomen, your pelvic floor, thinking, well, I'm just going to do all my ab exercises for this. But then you still have low back pain. But then you still have this large arch like this, and you're walking around like this. You still have a hard flow of pee, and you can't chop it off. That tells me you have a pelvic floor disruption. Okay? And look, I'm going to tell you, healthcare doesn't give a shit about that. Okay? Healthcare doesn't give a shit about that because all they want to do is tell you to come to physical therapy and give you a medication. Okay? That's it. And yet you're not willing to share that on screen. Why? It's your own profile. It's your own right of freedom of speech on your own social media, and you not sharing the details about why someone needs something, or showing them the problems that they are doing over and over and over again, and they're hitting a block, hitting a wall over and over, and yet you know the solution for that. Or if you're still not willing to dive even deeper and speak to that one little person, then you try to speak generically, you are not going to get what you want out of this. You are just going to constantly be that teller and never that shower. Okay. That was a harder lesson, but it was a good lesson. And so that's going to throw me right in really quick to Lighthouse content. Okay. This is another form of content I think it's really important to talk about, especially after yesterday, because I lost like 1,000 followers or something yesterday. But honestly, I do anyway. I think I spoke to that in our call where I like get like 400 or 500 followers a day, but I lose just as much or sometimes more. So I haven't been able to like get over that hump of the follower count that I have, and that is okay because that is repelling people that are not for me, and it's bringing in people that are with me. Okay, so that's what Lighthouse content is. I wanted to bring it up because some of us are still struggling a little bit with storytelling content. And some of us think, well, I'm just, I don't know what everyone else did on election day or if they posted or if they posted after, because some of us are still not sharing everything deeply when it comes to content and when it comes to our pages. So I want to share what Lighthouse content is because people have been asking me about it. It's kind of like storytelling content, but it's a little bit deeper. Okay. It shares your personal views, knowing, so in the back of your head that when you share this type of content, when you share this story, this opinion, this dislike or like, in the back of your head that not everybody is going to like it. And it is going to bring some disagreement, some disruption. But I'm going to share it anyway, because the deeper that I share, the more my people that are for me that need what I need are going to build a stronger connection with me and want to be a lifer with me, is what I call them, my lifers. Okay? Because if I'm just going to share very generalized content all the time and expect not to ruffle any feathers and expect to just be this safe haven for everybody, okay? You might not hurt anybody's feelings. Good for you. But you also, on the other side, are going to have your lifers that are waiting to connect with you. It's going to be very superficial connection. And when you go to release something else or when you go to sell something, they're going to be like, nah, I have a better connection with this person over here because they're struggling with the same thing that I'm struggling with, or they did the same thing that I did when we were teens, or blah, blah, or, they spend the same amount of money on this website and blah, 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 because you're not willing to divulge that information. So you may not lose people, but you're not gaining people over that hump either. Everyone's just kind of staying stagnant like this with you versus people that are sharing Lighthouse content. We might lose some people. We might get a message, multiple messages last night about how I should never work with kids because I'm a disgusting human, because people are very scared for the future and all that stuff. But I'm also getting multiple conversations about like thank you, like my woman last night, the thank yous, the inspiration, the I'm here for it, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And I don't care what you're saying, how you're saying it, or I do care how you're saying it, but I don't care what you're talking about, as long as you are sharing deeply enough to get people over this hump toward you. You might lose some people, but to get people toward this hump toward you. Because then whenever time you go to launch a challenge, a webinar, a live, a masterclass, whatever it is, people are here with you and they're going to last longer with you and buy what they need from you. Okay. So that was a great lesson on showing versus telling, because a lot of us sometimes we either forget it or we don't necessarily take it deep enough. And so I think it was a great example for us to think more about. So, all right. Okay, so I'm excited to bring this into the call next week, and with our further lesson, kind of how much personal content that we wanted to share, but I kind of brought in a little bit of that Lighthouse content into this lesson with us. So kind of like meshed it. All right. Peace. Millennial way, millennial peace out. Okay, bye.